Cool, you're Texan.
Yeah, I'm a
Nice.
Texan. Not really, but sure. I
Not
feel like
really.
I'm not. I feel like my personality has never matched Texas, but I think I definitely. I feel like I bring the kindness of like the South, you know, because I think the East Coast is known for being like less nice, but I think people here are actually really kind. It just started snowing today, so it's a pretty morning. Yeah. I haven't been outside yet, but I will later, so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I think whole US is cold these days. It's just
Yeah.
snowing everywhere.
What
Dallas
in
also is
You're in
really cold.
Dallas.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really cold here.
Yeah, I'm
I
from San
think we have,
Antonio, and I feel like the past few years have gotten colder and colder, in Texas, and even like I don't know if you've been in San Antonio for long, or not in San Antonio, but
yeah,
in Texas for long, but like it snowed a few years ago too, actually, so it's been interesting.
yeah. I think it's gonna be sixth year in Dallas, and I had experience of snowing for two times, I believe. Yeah,
Oh,
not
okay.
not not very often.
Okay.
Dallas is really not that much snowy. How is Pennsylvania? It should be cold, right?
But it's very cold. It's snowing as we speak. Yeah. It's pretty. I think it's probably like 20 something right now. Yeah. But I like the cold. I think it's like it's very it wakes you up in the morning. Let's just say that.
I
um,
see, I see.
like when you're walking to work, I'm like, ooh, I'm definitely awake now. So yeah.
So how is it? How is the experience of living in Pennsylvania in comparison to the Texas?
Um, I mean, I think in Texas, obviously everything's like spread out, and I had a car and everything, but here I feel like I'm really getting the city experience. I live in Center City, which is the downtown of Philly. And so I feel like it's like a mini New York. I feel like everything's really close together and like a bunch of restaurants and like the artsy scene, you know. So I feel like it's really nice to be connected to the city in a different way. Because in Texas, I feel like I was just kind of going from A to B, like driving. But I feel like when you're taking public transportation, like you really get embedded in the city and like you meet new people and like you just naturally, I think, get more involved in the community that way. So I feel like it's been I like Philly a lot better than I do San Antonio. So I'm happy that I
So
came
I
here.
so I
Yeah.
believe Philly is better for like nightlife, that kind of things. You can
Um,
have
I
bar
don't think
hopping.
so.
I don't know. It's not like
No.
that.
No, I think Philly is a more of like a bar, like pub kind of place. And
Hmm.
like San Antonio, I think had better club party scene. And then I think though obviously like compared to New York, I feel like Philly is more like quiet. So I feel like if people like it's a good balance, you know. You can have both here. But I think it is definitely more quiet than like New York or like other places. But it's more um like more party scene, I think, than Boston, for example. I feel like Boston's like really quiet, you know. So there's like a
Nice.
spectrum, I feel like, in the East Coast for sure.
I see. Also, the location of the Philly is better than Texas, definitely. You can easily travel to other states. You're
Yeah, yeah.
close for having
Mhm.
different trips on the weekends and visit different cities.
Yeah,
But in San
definitely.
Antonio, I think Texas you're far from everywhere. It's really hard to, except you take a plane or plane to travel.
Mhm. But you moved, where were you before Dallas?
So I was back home. So I came from Iran, the country I live for.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's US is my first place, and the Texas, Dallas is my first international city I'm living. I was in Dubai, Turkey, Istanbul for a while, but I don't consider them as a place that I lived because it was a couple of months as an experience.
Okay, I see. Yeah. Well, I mean, if
Yeah.
you, now that you're in a grad program, I believe. Yeah.
Yes, I am PhD. I recently graduated with a couple of weeks, so
Oh, congratulations.
thank you. So, Marissa, can you tell us a little bit about more yourself? Where are you? What are you doing? And then I can dig into more questions.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So Mm, I made this transition in undergrad. I was more of the pre-med track actually. So I was born and raised in San Antonio, Texas. I went to the university there, UT San Antonio, and I was pre-med track. I wanted to do neurology or like psychology, something like that. Um, but I quickly realized that I didn't really enjoy the patient interaction as much, and I feel like I wanted to do more of like the research. So I switched over to a PhD track at like I think my second year of undergrad, and then ever since then I've just like that was my main goal. So I kind of set myself up for success in that way, and I could expand on that. But I think one main theme is that starting when I knew what the track that I wanted, and even before when I was pre med, it kind of helped to pivot to PhD because it's related, right? I was still doing research in undergrad, all 4 years of undergrad. So I think like I was forward thinking and I was building backwards. So I knew where I wanted to be in a PhD program. So I was building my resume or my experiences to kind of match that trajectory. And so that's a big theme I think in my life now is just like seeing where I want to be and then building backwards from that. And I think it kind of reduces some anxiety in that way too because you're planning for where you want to be instead of feeling like maybe stuck in where you are, if that makes any sense. And so yeah, so I did in undergrad I did 4 years of neuroscience research more on the regeneration side of looking at aberrant or abnormal neurogenesis in epilepsy, utilizing mouse models and also some human stem cell derived organoids as well. And then coming into grad school, I kind of applied to a bunch of schools that I thought matched my interest because I had a very kind of niche interest in looking at regeneration in humans, which is not really a super common thing, especially in the central nervous system, in the brain instead of like peripheral nervous system. And so I kind of ran the gamut on my applications, and then I ended up here. And I study at UPenn. I study cancer neuroscience now, so I'm looking at glioblastoma and potentially regenerative potentials there. And kind of using my stem cell biology background to apply to this like new disease context that's actually extremely debilitating. It's still a death sentence when diagnosed, and so I'm really interested in therapeutic development. And I'm also doing an internship right now with a venture capital firm, so I'm very much industry focused and very. I feel like being at Penn is important for that too because we have Wharton. It's kind of like all embedded biotech ecosystem, and so I'm very much like 99% sure I'm headed towards industry when I graduate. Fingers crossed.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. That's amazing. You're in the right path.
Yeah.
When you know what you're doing and you're really enjoying it, that's a great achievement.
Yeah.
And you changed from pre-med to
Hmm.
engineering.
Hmm. No,
So
to
how the
not to engineering.
neuroscience?
Yeah, to neuroscience, but more on the PhD track. Yeah.
So you don't do any engineering stuff.
No, I think in hindsight I would have liked to major in engineering, but I just majored in neuroscience and then I did a business administration minor.
I see.
Yeah.
So did you always enjoy school or did that come later?
I did. Yeah. I think that it was I enjoyed learning. I think I've always enjoyed learning, but I think sometimes the school system, like especially, high school can feel very like boxy, like you're boxed into like how you're supposed to learn and what you're supposed to learn. So I enjoyed it to an extent, but I have always enjoyed learning and enjoyed school. But I think in college is when I really started to enjoy it because I was specializing in something that I really enjoyed. And then as I explored, I kind of came in from high school wanting to do a little bit more of sports medicine because I'm really interested in I guess CTE or the concussion injuries, things like that. But then I pivoted and I joined I kind of emailed a bunch of professors and then I just got back from my PI that I had at the time. She emailed me back first, and so I just joined her lab kind of as like I think at the time kind of a I guess I wouldn't say a impulsive decision, but I just didn't impatient decision. Like I didn't want to wait for more people to reply to me, so I wanted to join a lab immediately. So I just joined her lab, and it worked out really well. And that's when I decided to pivot more to just like straight neuroscience. But I don't do engineering, although I would like to,
I see.
if I can. Yeah.
How how is PhD is different than undergrad life?
Um, I think it's very similar because when I was an undergrad, I I was constantly doing something to prepare. So I was obviously like taking classes and I had a very I was very involved with the lab that I was in. So I think that's an also advice I would give is that you should the lab that, depending on the obviously the career paths, but depending on the lab that you join in undergrad is extremely crucial. They need to be able to support you and um, like really nurture your development in that lab. And so I joined a really great lab, and that's kind of I think helped me be successful all the way around, just because I was able to get adequate mentorship and I was able to get over time independence, right? And that's exactly what they want to see, and what these schools want to see is independence, and that you're contributing intellectually to the experiences that you have, whether it's a lab experience or any other type of experience that you have, or internships or clubs or anything, is that you're actually contributing intellectually, um, and that that you're progressing in some way, or improving in some way, advancing your skill set, whether it's like technical or soft skills or things like that. So yeah, I think I lost track of what the question you asked was. Oh, PhD
Yeah,
life.
how,
Yes.
yeah,
Oh, so sorry. Yeah. So I would say PhD is very similar in that way, that I'm always kind of doing something different. I think that's the kind of person I am, is like dynamic. I want to always be doing something. But obviously with the intent of not burnout, but just kind of like doing different things to avoid burnout, I think is important. And so like I think it's very similar, except the obvious difference is that your classes are less emphasized in PhD. You have like one or two each semester, as I'm sure like you know, and then you just after your first 2 years, it's all about your thesis. So I think it's different in that obviously undergrad is very heavy in your course load, and so I feel like if anything, you're more probably burnt out in your undergrad, because you're like doing full-time courses and you're trying to like research and internships and all this stuff, whereas in PhD, you know, you've already made it to the program, so you really just have to get through those classes and then you know do your experiments and kind of move up from there.
yeah, that's true. And you did after the undergrad direct PhD, right? You didn't have any master
No, I
experience.
went straight in. Yeah.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
So, what does a normal day in your life look like right now?
Okay, let me think. I mean, every day is different. Every day is different, which I think I really like that about PhD, is that every day is different, um, because you're doing different experiments. But I would say a typical day is I usually have a morning. Sorry, my phone went off. I usually have a series of. I'm in my internship, which is a hybrid internship. So I do all my work virtually for the most part, and so my day to day is mostly meetings in the mornings, whether it's for lab or for the internship. I kind of oscillate between the two. And then I usually have experiments. I usually have lunch with like my lab mates, and we just like kind of decompress and chat about things that are working, not working. Um, and then, usually I wrap up some like meetings in the evening. I work on maybe some documents for my internship, or I do data analysis, things like that. And then in the evening, I usually go to the gym if I can. I try to. And then, I just eat dinner and usually decompress, and I try to watch TV, or, probably usually I don't watch TV. I probably just like scroll on TikTok if I'm being honest, and then I just go to bed. But like I try to decompress a little bit before bed if I can, and give myself some time to recharge before the next day. But yeah, usually it's a combination of meetings and experiments and all kinds of things like that. But it's definitely different each day, because some days are more heavy on the internship, where I'm kind of there's like a deadline for some sort of I do a lot of documentation, trying to understand like how the therapies that we're bringing into development from this venture firm can make it to the market. So sometimes there's deadlines associated with that I have to kind of push on one day, and then the next day it might be like a full experiment day, for example. But it varies. To
Nice,
make a long
nice,
story
nice.
short. Yeah.
What part of the being a student you like the most?
What part of the what?
What part of being a student you like the most?
Mm, I think I what I like about being a student is that it feels there's kind of there's structure to it, but you have this motivation because you know where you want to be, or like you have this goal. Um and so I think that's what I like about it. I think that one thing that I would say is like really important for students is to really explore and find what you want to do. I think being a student allows you to do that. Whether it's an undergrad, you're able to explore different career paths and like just decide what you would like to do. And Even in PhD, same thing, or any other grad program, master's or etc. You can really, I think being a student means you can explore and have the freedom to. And I think some people are scared to do that, but I think you should do that. It's the best time to do it is now. Um, and I think that's the best part. And I also think that that allows you to create a trajectory. And like I said, you can build backwards from where you want to be, and you can always change that, right? But at least you're working towards something, and that keeps that momentum and motivation that I think a lot of people struggle with keeping and maintaining. But I think as long as you have that end goal, not every day is going to feel motivating. Like some days you just get up and do what you got to do, right? But I think it's important to have that end goal in mind and not be afraid to explore or change your mind if you don't like what you're doing, you know?
Yeah. What
Yeah.
motivates you when you feel tired or
Mm.
overwhelmed?
Well, I think sometimes I hinge on discipline rather than motivation when I'm tired. But I do think that discipline is maintained by motivation over time. So I think for me, my goal is I'm very impact driven. So my goal is to be in the future, be an investor and to help maintain clinical trials and get therapies to patients. So I think that that motivation, I'm very people driven and people motivated. So I think having that mindset of like I know that's what I want to do in the future, and I need to get through these incremental steps, whether it's getting through an experiment this day or trying to like push myself on this assignment. So for my internship, for example. So I think that that's what motivates me is where I want to be and the impact that I want to have, which naturally I need to have a skill set for that. Um, but yeah, I can expand on
So,
anything if you need more like detail.
so yeah, definitely. Whenever you think you have things to say, definitely go ahead. So when you're stressed, and what is the trick for that to come over your stress? I'm asking these questions because you're in a top tier school, and definitely you're dealing with a lot of interesting challenges, and your
Yeah.
experience definitely can help a lot of students.
Yeah. So how do I deal with stress? I think there has to be, and this is hard, right? Managing anxiety is extremely difficult. And I'm not saying it's easy, but I think over time I've learned that things are just not that important, right? Sometimes things are not like you have to keep that big picture thinking, right? Because if you think of every small thing as important, it's going to stress you out and you're going to be inefficient. I watched this real estate show called Owning Manhattan, and the main CEO guy, whatever his name is, he says that if you're not moving on, you're falling behind. So I think the important thing is that you allow yourself to be stressed with something a lot because stress is helpful for motivation, but I think it's important to practice moving on, right? And I think honestly experiencing failures, you get used to it. And that sounds bad, but it's true, right? So if like tomorrow I have an experiment and it doesn't work out, I can't yes, you have to understand why it didn't work out and you have to have a level of stress to figure that out, but dwelling on that and like let's just say that I obsess over that mistake for like if I made a mistake or if it was a failed experiment, if I obsess over it for days and days, then I'm only falling behind from like the true goal. The big picture is I want to get my PhD. This one experiment is not hinging that there's not it's one thing, right? And so I think like trying to practice a bit of nonchalantness, I think, and also like managing expectations of yourself because once the outside world, I think especially being at a top tier university. I mean, I came from a state school and like I applied to mostly Ivy Leagues, but I think that overall my stats for getting into Penn were not like top tier stats. I think what really helps is again, I think what helped me prepare for this was ultimately um networking and getting that advice from people, like talking to people and getting their experiences. I think can take you farther. And I think you have to manage your expectations of yourself and also like try your best to situate yourself in the university that you go to eventually in a place where you are supported by the people in your life, whether it's your PI or like your lab members or your friends. I think you have to put yourself in a position to be supported and to put yourself in an environment that's going to suit you. Because if you have a PI that's frankly, not a good mentor or not supporting you, then that's going to make you even more stressed, right? And there are plenty of people like that. So you have to really situate yourself in a position to be successful and to not allow those outside stressors to come in, you know. You have to like protect yourself and
That's true.
your peace at that point. Yeah.
That's true. Is there something you're proud of that you don't talk about often?
Mm, I think I'm proud. I guess I don't really I think what happens is like for a lot of high achieving students is that you kind of you get where you want to be and you don't think about the fact that you got there, if that makes sense. So like I am here at Penn and I that was my dream for 4 years. I was like I want to go to a top tier school and I want to do neuroscience. But when I got there, I was happy, of course, and I celebrated. But then you kind of move on and you're like, okay, now I got to do classes and I got to get in a good lab. But I think at the end of the day, you have to make sure you remember that you are where you are right now is where you were dreaming of being before, and you have to remind yourself of that because that achievement I think is I mean you have to be proud of your achievements and even something small. Like I try to celebrate like small wins each day. But I guess I now that you're mentioning it, I don't really think about how I made it here. I kind of just think about, okay, I want to my next step is industry or whatever, so now I got to go do that. But I think it's important to celebrate those small wins, even though this it's not a small win to get into grad school, but just like remind yourself of where you were before. And that can also help motivate you on those days where you're like feeling like what's the point? Like nothing's working kind of day, you know.
I think it's the nature of human, right? We're getting used to anything, any achievements we get. You tried hard to get into UPenn, but after a while, you feel okay, it's a normal thing, and you're
Yeah.
looking forward and moving forward, and life goes on. If you introduce yourself in 3 words, what those 3 words could be?
Hmm. 3 words. I'd say vibrant, fierce, and empathetic. Yeah. Should I?
You want to elaborate?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was, I was like, just I only get 3 words. um, yeah, I would say I said vibrant. I already forgot what I said. Vibrant, empathetic, and fierce. Yes. So I would say, yeah, I would say that I try to. I think I'm a very energetic person, and I try to. I think that's how I decided that I really wanted to go into venture capital. And for anyone on the podcast who's not aware of this, I can also explain. But I didn't know what this was before. But it's basically investing in. In my case, it's therapeutic development. So I'm in a small firm that invests and actually acquires small biotech or startups, and then we try to get those products to clinic. So it's a mode of investing, but in the life sciences therapeutic realm. Um, and so I think in that sense, I I feel like I realized that industry and business, a lot of my personality naturally fits into that. I think. So I think I'm just very on a daily basis. I feel like I like speaking to people. I like to get people's energy up and like enjoy human interaction. I would say fierce is kind of because I try to push past like I think I how do I put this? Like in the sense of adversity, I feel like if a failure occurs, it motivates me more. It kind of lights a fire in me and I try even harder, if that makes sense. And then empathetic, I think that I am a very people focused person. I care about people before anything else. And I think that even though I think we need more empathy in this world, definitely, and especially in the scientific community, I think people kind of get lost in their own work and they don't think about like other people. And I think that that's something that I would like to see more of. Especially in this landscape right now, the world is a little bit crazy. So I think it would be nice to see that more in people. Yeah.
that was amazing. Thank you. And
Yeah.
you're also on startup stuff. We
Mhm.
are we are also in the middle of building a health startup. We are working something to help patients and doctors.
Really?
But maybe in the future we can connect more and talk about it in the future
Yeah.
after we reach somewhere. Yeah, that's amazing to hear that you're on business side too.
Yeah.
I love the business side of this stuff. So, are you a type of person who prefer to have micro plans, or you just type of person, right? Okay, I'm gonna finish this by that time, specific time.
Micro plans, do you mean like breaking up tasks into like chunks?
Yeah, every details of the specific hours, you have a plan for every part of the day.
No, I think I've been trying to do that more, but I think I mostly have just like a list of, okay, I want to get this thing done today, this thing done today, this thing done today, or have this meeting at XYZ. And then I usually just kind of go down the list each day. But I do think that as things get busier and as I found myself being involved in more things, um, I do think that it is more important to plan things out. But I also think especially with PhD, things change and sometimes things take longer. So I think it's important to be flexible. But I am the type of person to kind of, I don't think I'm the type of person to like break down my day in really detail. But lately, with everything, I think things have been ramping up with the holidays and trying to plan ahead. So I think I have had to kind of be more granular on my schedule. But overall, I don't think I'm the type to do that. Yeah.
That's true. What do you think are the most important thing for someone to be successful as a student? If there is any skills, any characters, any.
hmm are you pertaining to grad school or just in general?
Yeah, for a student in general, based on your experience as an undergrad student and a PhD
hmm
student.
I mean, I would say adaptability and resilience. Truthfully, I think that you're not going to be able to predict everything, but I think if you're adaptable and if you're resilient and you push past all of the barriers that we naturally face in life and in school and all the uncertainty, I think is super important. I think it's important for any person, not just a student, but like I think being able to withstand uncertainty, because everything's uncertain, right? But I think being able to pivot and to face obstacles head on, even when you're not prepared for them, I think, is really important because you're going to face those challenges throughout life. Like whether it's in undergrad, like a hard class, or in PhD, like, your thesis isn't working. There's so many things that go wrong, but you have to be able to adapt and pivot when you need to. Because sometimes like focusing on it for too long, like I said, just is inefficient and wastes time. But we all naturally do that, we all naturally kind of like sometimes just get in our own heads. And I think the important thing is to allow yourself to feel those feelings. Don't just like move on completely, because that could be damaging if you're not addressing maybe like the root cause of a failure. You need to be able to reflect, right? But don't dwell. Yeah.
So, Marissa, let's back to UPenn. UPenn is one of the best schools in the US and in the world, and it is Ivy school. So, as a PhD student right now in UPenn, how do you see it, and what special options UPenn provides student, do you think, based on your experience as a Texas and UPenn? UPenn is really special school.
hmm Yeah, I think naturally being at a school of this caliber, there's a lot of resources, right? I think that there's a lot. I think in Texas, there was support, but there's a limit to the support, right? Just based off of capitals having enough money for these resources, things like that. But I think that going to Penn, having all these resources that are just naturally built into their system, I think makes it easier, of course, to feel supported and to be successful. And I think especially given the varying goals of grad students, I think there's so many things people can be involved in, and I think Penn is really good at fitting people's needs to what to it, having meeting their interests with options. So for example, with my interest in biotech, Wharton is the best business school in the country, and I think it being in proximity to that has done wonders. Or even studying, for example, like being so embedded in the medical center, has allowed me to study glioblastoma, which and have access to a ton of patient samples, which is, something like not to be taken for granted. I mean, a lot of universities have issues getting like precious tissue. And so I think having it's there's a lot of built-in structure to have resources. And I think that, being embedded in this premier hospital ecosystem just gives you access to, from like top tier clinical trials, like some of the best classes you could take in different realms. I think is it's just being in proximity to that, I think naturally leads to growth, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You said you're also doing business degree beside your PhD?
No, no, I would like to. That'd be actually very cool if I could get an MBA, but I don't know if they would let me do that. I would probably need to get like special permission. But I did get a business minor in undergrad, which
Oh,
was
okay.
somewhat helpful. But I think I forgot a lot of the things I learned. So I would like to. Next semester I actually plan to audit some business classes because they allow us to audit classes as well. So I think that just being in proximity to these things, like I said, you get opportunities naturally. Um, yeah.
I see, but based on my experience, I think if you take some courses beside your PhD and finish those required courses for a specific degree, you will qualify to get a degree for example, master as
Mhm.
MBA degree. And I had a friend did this technique, and they got while they're getting their PhD, they had also a MBA degree beside their PhDs. Since you're also into venture capital stuff and also business stuff, definitely the business degree, MBA degree from UPenn can really be a game changer here, right?
Mhm. Yeah, and I think this brings up a topic of brand names because I think that, a lot of students are stuck on a lot of people get stuck on that on brand names like, "Oh, I need to go to an Ivy League school." And I think shoot for the moon and you'll fall somewhere in the stars. Like shoot for the whole like shoot for the highest you could reach. But I don't think I think that being at Penn is an extremely like, I'm very grateful for the experience, and I think that it is being in these top institutions does, it does help with opportunity and having that, like, an MBA from Wharton is like obviously an extremely a great thing to have, and it really opens doors naturally just by having that on your resume, for example. But I do think it's important for students who maybe don't get into like some of these top schools. I think it's okay, and I think that you can build opportunity even from like I built opportunity in my undergrad, and I got to Penn because I made opportunity with what I had, which was maybe limited. I think we didn't even have a neuroscience program when I started at UTSA, but I think you can build you can build things that are missing where you are at. So I think it's important to find the opportunity in maybe going to a school that may not be as high caliber. You can kind of build something there and show leadership skills. And then you can keep reaching like for your next degree or for your job. I think brand names are important, but I also think that it's important to know that you can build where you are at, even if it's not this like crazy Ivy League school.
Right. One question for some maybe some student interested in business stuff as myself, for early startups who are looking for VCs, what do you think can make them successful to get more investors, to raise more fundings? Do you have any advice on that side?
Yeah, I think that one thing, I mean, I'm still new to this, but I've been in this internship for about a year and I've learned a lot. I think that this is a theme of life is de-risking. So I think that, just like you would want to de-risk, so like an undergrad applying to grad school, you want to set yourself up for success. So you want to have experiences when if you're applying for a research program, you want to have experiences in research, you want to show leadership, XYZ. So that's kind of de-risking yourself so you have a higher chance of getting in, right? So, in the same way, a startup can de-risk their technologies and show that they've done their homework essentially, and have a plan. I think a lot of these startups, they're great scientists, but their business plan is lacking. And so I think that they need to use their outside resources and their network to build a really good business plan. And then when they bring this to the VCs, they have a higher chance of getting recognized. I mean, we where I work at least, it's not like everything has to be perfect, right? There's always an inherent level of risk when you are investing in anything, especially startups, because the technology is inherently early and we want early technologies. But I think there's a way to de risk your technology and to um, come make sure that you have a well fleshed out plan, that you have a cohesive team working on this, because a lot of times you're investing in the people, right? The technology is going to be early. There's going to be hopefully some good data, some positive data associated with it, but you're really investing in the team, right? And like how they're going to execute moving forward. And so I think having a solid team and de-risking through within with your technology, but also with your business plan and with choosing the right members of your team, I think is the best thing. And that's also a theme of life, right? Is de-risking so that you can have a higher chance of success, essentially. That was probably vague, but I think it really depends on the case by case basis. But I think just really really thinking about each aspect of your company, not just the science working, because there's plenty of great science, but it takes so much more than that to get to clinic and to get invested in, especially at early stages.
I see. So, and where is the best place to find the species? Is there any tricks, any techniques that can shorter the path that when startups are looking for funding, they can reach out?
I think I don't know if there's a special trick. I think that just I think the best thing is to always be networking throughout your life. I think always be open to meeting people. I think go to conferences. Like there's plenty of startup conferences and things that can get you involved. There's like a Nucleate is a really great resource. They have local chapters and they have a accelerator program for startups, and they also have challenges where you can win money and things like that. So I think embedding yourself in your local ecosystem, but also utilizing organizations that do facilitate things like this. But I also think sometimes networking, like it's just it's what they always say, it's who you know, right? So I think that sometimes just having someone on LinkedIn, you never know who that like whenever you might see that person again, or how I got my internship was just cold emailing this the CSO of this company, and it worked out somehow. But you never would know if you didn't try or if you didn't put yourself out there to get to know people. And so I think that always be looking, oh, like always be networking, and always I guess in the sense is taking advantage of things like Nucleate, I think is what I would say. Yeah. But there's not really like
And
a special formula. I think it's you just got to keep trying, and talk to as many people as you can.
yeah, I totally agree. So, Marissa, if you had a free year with no responsibilities, what would you do?
No responsibilities.
You're free.
Okay. And I get money.
Yeah, you have enough money to live your life.
Okay, okay. Um
That was a good point.
what would I do? I think if I had endless money, I think I would take some time. I think a lot of people would say, I mean, I think a lot of people would say that they would do their job that they're still doing and they wouldn't want to stop. That could be true. I do enjoy what I do. I do enjoy specifically. I would definitely not be doing the research probably, but I would be still working in venture capital because I really do enjoy that. Um, but if I had a free year and I had the money, I might take some time, and I think I would try to do one of the things on my bucket list, which is, for example, I've always wanted to own a coffee shop. So if I had money, I probably would own a coffee shop. But I think that the reason for this is like the reason why I'm obsessed with owning a coffee shop is because I feel like so many discussions and so many things have started in my life in a coffee shop. Like I've met with people, I've gotten jobs from people, like from just talking to people in coffee shops. I've met friends. I feel like coffee shops like breed productivity and like connection. And so I think that's what I would do is I would like start a business, and I would just um kind of enjoy doing something a little bit different than science for a while. And I think that that would be fun. And of course, like maybe take a vacation or two. Like some beach trip or something. But yeah. And maybe do more mission trips. Like I would maybe go and like volunteer and do outreach, things that I haven't really feel like I have had time to do, because obviously, there's always time to do things like this, but I think in PhD especially, like it's hard to like go and do community service all the time or things like that. So I think that I would want to do things like that.
Is,
Science brain a break, frankly.
yeah, definitely we need it. Is
Yeah.
there any special place in the world that you have a plan to travel?
Mm. I haven't ever been to Europe, anywhere in Europe. So I feel like I would want to do like a whole Europe trip, like just like backpacking or something. I think that would be really fun.
So
But I don't.
you're from US, right?
Mhm.
Which state, which city?
Texas, San Antonio.
Originally you're
Yeah.
from San Antonio.
Yeah.
That's cool. You're Texan.
Yeah, I'm a
Nice.
Texan. Not really, but sure. I
Not
feel like
really.
I'm not. I feel like my personality has never matched Texas, but I think I definitely. I feel like I bring the kindness of like the South, you know, because I think the East Coast is known for being like less nice, but I think people here are actually really kind. But yeah, I would definitely want to travel somewhere tropical too. Like I think I would want to go like some island or something, and just like enjoy the scenery and decompress a bit.
Have you been in Alaska or Hawaii or
No, I haven't. I haven't been to either of those. Yeah. I've been to Costa Rica, which was beautiful.
wow.
I was in on a trip to on sustainability and environmental kind of sustainability trip, which is very different from my interest. But I'm also like it was very interesting and important to learn about. And I was there for only a couple weeks, but it was a very very beautiful trip. And we did a lot of we learned a lot about how Costa Rica I think is probably one of the most environmentally friendly, renewable countries. And so I thought it was very inspiring. And I was like, why doesn't the US do stuff like this? You know, like I think we need to set a precedent and learn from other countries that are doing more renewable ways of energy sourcing and things like that. So, yeah.
So what PhD student usually do on their free times?
Everyone's different, I think. I think maybe my answer is different than some people. I think my classmates, they like to run and they do like they have like hobbies, like they run or they a lot of them, I think they do like book clubs, they read like fiction or things like that. For me, I would say on my free time, I really do enjoy exercising and I take weightlifting pretty seriously, so I think that's like a hobby of mine. And then I would say I like shopping and thrifting. I'm really into fashion. I like to say that I'm into all things trendy. Like I have fashion trends, I like market trends, science trends, like all the trends. So I find myself doing things like that. But yeah, I think a lot of people, a lot of it's a variable answer, but my answer is mostly, um, you know, shopping, exploring, and things like that. Trying different foods in the city, things like that. Yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
So podcast or movies?
Mm, probably movies. That depends on the
Movies.
type
Okay.
of movies. Yeah, I don't really watch a lot of podcasts, but maybe I should now. I do listen to some podcasts, but I think mostly I do enjoy like a good scary movie or like yeah, a thriller or a documentary. I like watching those, yeah.
Okay, tell us some examples. The
Of
favorite movie you
documentaries?
watched.
Oh,
Documentaries, movies.
well, I watch a lot of those like true crime documentaries. Um I really do enjoy those. I think I like the mystery and the thriller type of thing. Um And I think also like it's because of my interests. I've also been interested in law before. I used to also think about being a lawyer. Um, so I think that kind of like satisfies that like curiosity of like the mystery and like trying to solve a case, like investigational things like that. I don't really have a favorite documentary or anything that I've watched recently. But I just usually just like find I watched one about this like famous art heist where they stole a bunch of art or something like that recently on Netflix. But I like watching stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, since you talked about the horror stuff, I was watching a documentary from Indiana prison in Indiana by McDonald. He was doing an interview with the serial killers. They were in the death row, and that was super scary. Sometimes I'm feeling if we watch more this type of stuff, it's gonna affect somehow the way we thinking. I'm not sure, but I feel it's it can affect, it can have negative impact on. But I'm not sure. I'm still watching. I really enjoy it, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I
Sometimes
don't
I
know if it
think,
has
oh,
a negative effect. I guess as a neuroscientist, maybe I should know. I think some people
yeah,
if you're like prone to certain types of anxiety, maybe you shouldn't watch. Some of my friends are just too anxious to watch scary movies, but I think sometimes it's just curiosity, like I think people enjoy like learning about other people's like learning about all these like crazy stories and things like that. That's kind of my thing. It's just the curiosity of it. But I do think that for some people it probably does have a negative effect on their anxiety, and their stress. So.
Nice. So do you prefer to go to classical music concert or Dua Lipa type things? Which
Oh,
one?
I think you can tell based on my outfit. I'm gonna pick Dua Lipa.
Okay.
Yeah, I like pop, and I'm very into I listen to a lot of upbeat music like rap, R&B, reggaeton. I'm Puerto Rican, so I listen to Bad Bunny, obviously.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, and that's
That's
what
my
I
that's my
blast
number
that in the
one.
music in the lab when I'm doing experiments, just so I can like stay awake. I just blast like music in my
Can you
ears.
speak Spanish? Can you also speak
No,
Spanish or understand it?
I can understand it. And I'm
Hmm.
learning, so I carry conversations with people pretty well now, but I'm not fluent, unfortunately. No.
That's great.
Yeah.
If you understand it, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And yeah, the singers like Bad Bunny, that's amazing singer. That's my favorite.
Really?
And I think they picked him to be on the opening of the World Cup 2026 in I believe it's in June. But I'm not sure they're gonna change it because Trump said, okay, we should pick an American for opening. But Bad
Really?
Bunny is the first target to be the singer on the opening of the World Cup in Mexico.
Oh, wow.
So yeah,
Yeah,
that's my
that, and
favorite
he's also
singer.
going to be in the Super Bowl too.
Really
Hmm.
interesting. I don't know that. Yeah, he's really great. I really enjoy listening to him. So, Marisa, how's life in general?
It's good. Yeah. I mean, I think overall things have been trucking along. I think right now second year is a bit scary because you're trying to figure out your thesis, and qualifying exams are coming up. But I think overall things are going well. Yeah. I think it's just, again, like I always have to remind myself, like, it will all, I think I got asked this question recently last week. I have a committee meeting, but it's pre-candidacy. So I have a committee of faculty that kind of just check in with me once a semester, or I think it's once a semester. And they asked me how I was feeling about candidacy and qualifying exams. And I was just like, it'll get done. Like, I think they expected me to be like very anxious about it, but I was like, it'll get done, like step by step. It will be done, and I hopefully will pass, and things will feel better. But yeah, that's kind of my mindset is like things will get done. We'll be okay.
You
But yeah,
definitely will be fine.
yeah.
What makes you happy?
People, I think having my friends, family. I think I'm a very people person. So I think spending time with family, friends. Um, I always talk to my friends from back home, and like we always just talk on the phone and like things like that. I think, and of course, just small things. Like sometimes I just enjoy like a morning walk to get my coffee, something like that. Like I enjoy just like walking and like seeing the scenery and like nature or whatever. Even though I live like with a bunch of buildings, but there's some greenery, So I just walk around and get like a coffee. I think I'm pretty easy to please. So I just small things make me happy, or just hanging out with people and like reconnecting. Yeah.
So nice.
Yeah.
So I usually ask this question at the end of my podcast. Do you feel happy, and what is your definition for happiness?
I do feel happy. I don't think, I think overall happy. I think there's always going to be bad days and good days, but I think overall I am happy. But how would I define happiness? I think sometimes people associate happiness with this like overwhelming feeling, like, oh, I'm so happy, or like it's like associated with more of like an excited phenotype. But I feel like for me, I think sometimes being happy just means you're content. You're just relaxed, you're chill, you just enjoying, Like I don't think it means you have to be like waking up in the morning and like wake up like bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and be like, I love life. Like no, I think you can just be like calm and enjoy. Um and it doesn't have to be this overwhelming feeling. And you don't have to be happy. Like it doesn't mean that you have to enjoy everything you're doing all the time. I think it just means like an overall state of like content.
Yeah, I love this contentness of the definition of the contentness for happiness. That's really great and amazing definition. So
Thanks.
thank you so much, Marissa. I really enjoyed our conversation and having you today in the podcast, and I hope everyone enjoyed watching us. And last words from your side, if there's anything I missed and you want to talk to students.
Yeah, thank you for
Cheers.
having me. I'm really happy I was able to come on. But yeah, if I don't know if I should if is this just live right now?
No, I'm gonna do
Okay.
the edits and then
Oh, okay, perfect.
upload.
So yeah, so I can also at least in I don't know if you want to put like my LinkedIn or something like that, but yeah, or my email and my LinkedIn so they could reach out. But yeah, I'm available for any questions and yeah.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate it.